Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this is going to be my patch 9.2 PTR Warlock double legendary Sims video. Now, last week I put out a different video talking about 2-piece, 4-piece bonuses for Dethrone, Demo Affliction, and I had some Sims in those, but no double legendary combinations. And if you've been watching stream or watching some of the videos lately, we've talked a lot about double legendaries and certain synergies between some, like DSS, demonic consumption, just 1 minute haste crit damage windows, different covenants, things like that. And I have Sims today. Some of the results are actually pretty surprising and pretty cool. I'm not saying Night Phase being dethroned, but Necrolord could be gaining, I mean, it's been gaining value, let's be real, but these Sims are actually pretty cool to see. Now, all the Sims have the 2-piece and 4-piece for their respective sets actually in them as well. Demonology 4-piece is still bugged on PTR. However, it is working properly in the Sims. Same goes for Destro and Aft. They're all working the way that they are intended to work. Now, it's technically Tuesday morning at 5 a.m., Monday night, however you want to word it. There could be a PTR build that changes some of these tier Sims or sets, legendaries, whatever, what have you. If it is, I'll make another video on it. But people have been asking a lot for double legendary Sims, so I figured, hey, let's do it. That being said, any week wars, profiles, or add-ons you see here, you can get free off my Twitch anytime. Feel free to swing by, grab them, hang out, feel free to do so. Also, want to give one big, huge, massive shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys a million times all for the support. I really appreciate it. If you guys are interested in the Warlock 9.2 spreadsheet, which should be coming out sometime, I would assume this week, with hopefully raid testing going on before Christmas, the tier 3 Felgar rank my Patreon or higher does indeed get early access to that. With all that being said, let's get into the video, starting off with, I guess, Night Phase Sims. Alrighty, so like normal, I have a link to all these Sims down below in the video description. If you want to take a look at them, dig through them on your own, feel free to do so. So, DSS, this indicates Night Phase, Decaying Soul Satchel. Keep in mind, legendaries, one has to be a Covenant one. So we're looking at DSS for Night Phase and Shard of Annihilation for Necrolord. Now, if you're a Venthyr or a Kyrian, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. It's cool. I like the Covenants, but they're not as good as these two in Sims. And I don't really want to run 8,000 different Sims, but if they gain value, I will end up, I guess I'll eventually run them. So, with that being said, starting off as Destro here, DSS RB is Roaring Blaze. So this is Night Phase, Decaying Soul Satchel, and Roaring Blaze talent build. Not a whole lot. It's really unexpected here. Cinders being number 1, Embers being relatively close here, and I'm pretty sure last time I actually ran Sims, Embers was pretty close on its own to Cinders, but just Cinders is just better. Just higher Roaring Blaze uptime, more conflict rates. This is not even factoring in movement and things like that, right? 3 conflags, just it makes Destro feel like a complete spec. It's just, you know, where you want to be. Wilfred's and Odor, however you want to word it, pretty close here. The legendary cloak for Havoc does indeed work in single target, which is why it's a DPS gain here. You'll see in Sims a bit further down the line here, it's actually a bigger gain in other combinations. So single target wise, Cinders, DSS, expected for the most part, right? Moving on here. So I wanted to sim Reign of Chaos, and interestingly enough, DSS Reign of Chaos. Now, both of these Sims are playing Infernal Brand, the Conduit, because we're not simming. I could have simmed with Duplicitous Havoc, but we're simming a patchwork setting. We know Detro's got 2 target. We know what we play there, so I wanted to sim a single target. DSS Reign of Chaos, actually at 9.8k, which is higher than the Cinders build at 9.5. This is Night Phase, not Necrolord, keep that in mind. But this is Wilfred's, which means you're going to have a 0 to 4 Infernal, or like 420, 430, give or take, right? So with Wilfred's here, you're getting 3 Infernals synced with Dark Soul in comparatively to all the other ones here getting 2, which is a bit surprising regardless, because we've run these Sims in the past and Wilfred still hasn't been this high necessarily. I would assume the 4-piece, more Shard Gen, some more Infernals, more everything else with Wilfred's value building upon itself pushes it ahead even more here with DSS, you know, factored in as well. If we look at a 3.5 minute sim though, because that 3.5 minute sim will give each profile, whether you're playing Wilfred's or just, you know, a 3-minute Infernal, 1 Infernal. Wilfred's does indeed lose a bit of value here. Once again, Cinders and Embers being pretty close here. Cinders is still a better play here. I'm not really sure what Embers pulled ahead. Could just be a random sim thing. Not really sure. Didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it. But either way, Cinders is ahead here. Wilfred's being, you know, down by a decent bit. But keep in mind, you have that Infernal coming up in half a minute here, roughly. So depending on the fight, duration-wise, damage-wise, depending on where you need damage, Wilfred's looks to be, I guess, DSS, Reign of Chaos. Wilfred's does indeed to look, it looks pretty decent. It looks better than it's been in 9.1 and 9.0 as far as like patchwork damage is concerned. And once again, mixing in multiple targets, Reign of Chaos value, more shards, bigger Havoc windows, more Reign of Fire cast, whatever, what have you. You know, the 4-piece works pretty well with that on its own. Affliction. So DSS, Decaying Soul Satchel, and Nightfall. And by the way, there are Necrolord sims here. I'll go back to those. We'll compare them at some point here too, right? So Decaying Soul Satchel with Nightfall. Now, 10,087 DPS comparatively to the single target version of Destro being, well, you know, about 550 damage behind, give or take. But, you know, what can you do? And if you want to factor in Rid of Chaos, okay, maybe a little less. But regardless, Decaying Soul Satchel, Nightfall build. So DSS Malefic Wrath being number 1 here. This is what we assume for the most part. Synergy being second, Agony being third, Sacrilege, the Corruption Legendary being fourth. Pretty cut and dry here. Affliction, unfortunately, doesn't really have a legendary. It's good in single target. Besides Malefic Wrath, like Synergy's fine, but it's just not as good. We know that. It is what it is. Now, with the 4-piece for Affliction being giving you a lot more procs when you're playing Nightfall instead of Drain Soul. In the actual sims here, you can indeed see playing Drain Soul, you're losing about 140 DPS, give or take. So it favors the Nightfall playstyle over Drain Soul. But similarly, you have Malefic Wrath being number 1, Synergy 2, Agony 3, and Sacrilege number 4. Now, I did take the liberty of simming 2 targets for you guys, so I knew some people would ask about it and things, right? I didn't run AoE sims for all these. Once again, we still sort of know, like, hey, this is good in AoE, that's good in AoE, whatever, what have you. But 2 targets, 5 minutes. We can see that Synergy does indeed pull ahead of Malefic Wrath, albeit not by a crazy amount here, but a decent bit. And maintaining Wrath in 2+ targets can be pretty easy, depending on how the fight is structured, but also a bit of a nightmare, depending on what build you're playing and things like that. So we did assume that Synergy would pull ahead of Malefic Wrath in 2 target, and it does. Playing Drain Soul, and I believe the Nightfall build's actually in here too. It is. So here is Synergy, 13,425 playing Nightfall, and here is Synergy DSS, obviously, playing Nightfall in 2 targets. Playing Drain Soul at 12,971, so 13k, and Nightfall being 13,425. So once again, favoring Nightfall in single target and 2 target with these 4-piece being on. And keep in mind, Nightfall was also changed in patch 9.1, I believe, maybe even Shadowlands launch, to have a higher chance of giving you an instant cast Shadow Bolt when you have multiple corruptions rolling. I believe it DRs at a certain point. I don't know what point exactly, but it does. So single target AF, 10,087 DPS. We can even round the 10.1 for Night Fae. Not bad, semi-respectable. And once again, this is without any domination shards, nothing along those lines, anything like that. It's about where I expected it to be, give or take. But then you have Demonology being, we can round a little bit, about 1k DPS ahead of Affliction here, and about 1.5k ahead of Destruction. Demonology, Decaying Soul Satchel, and Wilfrid's. Now, this is about the level of disparity I've seen between Grim and Wilfrid's on retail, maybe a little bit more, but people were talking about Wilfrid's or Grim being better this time around with certain legendaries and certain effects like Third Dog. And while I think there's merit to that, to a similar extent, having that Soul Rot window with either Field of Blossoms, Dreamweaver, or Nia in Grove Invigoration every minute with your Tyrant makes that build even stronger, in my opinion, because you have that huge haste crit amp with every single Tyrant, or that big, the DSS value regardless, whether it's Field or Grove Invigoration, every single Tyrant, which is just really, really, really good. Big final damage. And if you're a fan of PI, or getting PI, and or stamina stacking effects, guess what? It can balance even faster and better with that, because DSS, haste multiplicative stacking, stamina scaling. This build can scale, I would assume, to a crazy amount. Demonology locks are already one of the better PI targets in game right now, depending on the fight. I mean, single target wise, we're one of the best. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this pushes us to be the best in game out of any class, like beating Fire Mage, beating Aflock, beating Boomkin, whatever else is out there. This build can be really, really, really insane for final damage. So not a whole lot really changes here. I think for the most part, these legendary combinations are what we've been, sort of expected to see. But things do get a little interesting when we shift to Necrolord things. So moving back to Destro briefly. Okay, 9,500 Night Fae Cinders, 9.8 for Wilfrid's with the Reign of Chaos if you want. Necrolord Sims. So SOA, Shard of Annihilation, 9,900 DPS. So we know Destro with Necrolord is ahead of Night Fae, obviously. It appears to be ahead by about 500, about 370 DPS here, give or take, for Necrolord, which is strong. Cinders followed by OD or Odor, whatever. Embers, Wilfrid's Madness. Once again, 5-minute fight, Wilfrid's gains and or loses value. So not bad, not breaking the 10k threshold, but Necrolord continues to have that grasp on being really strong for Destro in single target and two target, right? I did want to run a Reign of Chaos sim here though. 9.7k. Now, this could be due to a handful of things. Shard of Annihilation not having a crazy amount of synergy with Reign of Chaos. Shard being better with Roaring Blaze because of, Roaring Blaze stacking with Shard, stacking with increased Incinerate damage and things like that. So I'm not surprised to see Wilfred's lower than Roaring Blaze here in single target, or Reign of Chaos Wilfred's lower than Roaring Blaze in single target. Still pretty similar though, if you're looking at this build overall. Like, it's still Wilfred's, followed by Embers and Odir, which I think swaps a little bit here. It's pretty close. I think Odir might have been a little lower. Yeah, but still, like, Wilfred's is still there. It's still a decent option. But as far as Necrolord's concerned, it still has that firm grasp on being the best single target Destro Covenant, if you will. Excluding Soul Shape and things like that, for both single target and two target playing Roaring Blaze. There's one nod to the Necrolord fans. So moving on to Affliction Necrolord stuff. Now, the highest AF build, actually, let's do Demonology. We'll do Affliction last because that's what I'm most excited about, right? So Demonology here, 10.9k, roughly 10.866 for Night Fae. We know this. Necrolord Demonology has been simming very close to Night Fae for me when it comes to retail. However, if playing Dreamweaver, my Night Fae Demonology has been a little higher because I typically play with Nia and Raid. I don't really sim in Dreamweaver a whole lot. However, all these sims are with Dreamweaver. Necrolord Demonology, 10,911 playing Shard of Annihilation and Wilfred. So about a 50 DPS bump up here over Night Fae, which is a bit surprising. I have not seen, this is all with Plague Divisor, by the way. I have not seen a Kevin's Oozling Plague Divisor sim beat Dreamweaver in sims at all here. Now, once again, I think this build of Night Fae gains a lot more value if you're getting power infusions and stamina scaling effects, because they just stack. Like power infusions, multiplicative haste scaling. Your Tyrant swings faster. So, and if you have stamina effects, he swings faster and he swings harder, right? Night Fae or Necrolord can still sort of do that, but you don't have DSS, Decaying Soul Satchel, multiplicative haste stacking. You have stamina scaling, I guess, but you don't really have that 1 minute larger window base for your Tyrant, right? Because you're holding your Decimating Bolt here for every Tyrant playing this build, because you have like 1 minute Tyrant, right? Which is, fine, give or take, but, well, Interestingly enough, Grim Inquisitor is here being 10,569 versus 10,656. Now, I actually have not looked into, actually look briefly here. I have not looked into the cast sequencing of this, but I'm wondering if it's because you're able to actually cast your Decimating Bolt on cooldown and don't have to hold it for every single Tyrant. Because with Wilfred, it's a minute, so you hold your Decimating Bolt. But with this build, you're not playing Wilfreds, you're playing actual dogs, like Grim Inquisitors, right? So 1.5 Tyrant. I'm assuming it just casts Bolt on cooldown, which is why this build has a higher upside or higher overall damage compared to Night Fae. First Decimating Bolt is cast, okay, roughly here, right for your Tyrant, which is fine, because you still want it with every Tyrant if you can, right? So 14 seconds in, I would assume the next one's like a minute, like 59, something like that. Let's see here. 101. And then where is next Decimating Bolt? It should be like one pretty close here. Yep, there you go. So you're not holding this many bolts for Tyrants, which is why this actual build is at 10,656 with dogs or Grim Inquisitors compared to 10,569 here as Night Fae. So overall, I mean, Necrolord looks pretty good for Demonology as well. Once again, this is putting aside the soul shape relevancy and things, right? This is just raw damage, everything else, Covenant utility is an important part of that in Prog, but if you're looking at raw damage, this is it. So Night Fae Affliction, right? Let's talk about its Necrolord counterpart. 10,087 DPS playing Decaying Soul Satchel and Nightfall. Okay, I was not expecting to see this much of a gain playing Necrolord, but Necrolord is ahead of Night Fae by 800 DPS, roughly. Okay, 750, however you want to word it. Playing Nightfall. Now, I've checked the sims like 3 to 4 times. I've made sure they're all... Let me triple check to make sure they're all working properly. I had heard some speculation, I guess, talk about this regardless before I had run these completely and things from a couple people. Yeah, the damage increase, yep, they're working properly. The damage increase is pretty spicy, but think about it. You have your Shard of Annihilation legendary with Necrolord, so you have increased Drain Soul damage or Night Bolt, Shadow Bolt damage, right? You have Withering Bolt, you have all these damage stacking effects, plus Malefic Wrath, right? So you have Malefic Wrath, Withering Bolt. If you're playing Drain Soul, you've got Drain Soul. And if you're not, well, you still have, decimating bolt for both. So it's just really, really strong. An 800 DPS increase is really surprising. Now, once again, Night Fae does have Soul Shape. It is still relevant, but, you know, in a spot like this where, okay, yeah, I'm gaining like a few hundred DPS, like 200-300, yeah. Okay, you can quite possibly make a case for playing Night Fae or Necrolord over Night Fae here. For Demonology, if this is how both look, this is a wash. I play Night Fae for this, because Soul Shape and other relevant things. It's just good, right? But this, if Affliction is like your go-to single target spec next tier, which don't know how it's going to go, anything can get buffed and nerfed, this is a substantial enough DPS difference where I think you wholeheartedly would play Necrolord if AF was going to be the spec you played. Now, keep in mind as well, with the 4-piece, for a Night Fae, you play Nightfall. There's so many nights in this video. You play Nightfall, because the 4-piece, whatever Covenant you're playing, gets a lot more procs, which is free Rapture cast, off of you playing Nightfall instead of Drain Soul, because Drain Soul's actual proc chance is reduced, even though it's a, you know, channel ability and periodic ticks. Looking at the actual difference here, once again, 10,087 for Nightfall with DSS versus 9,945 here. So you're behind by about, you know, 140 DPS, give or take. We can round to 150, sure. That is not the case for Necrolord. Necrolord Drain Soul is 10,855. Necrolord Nightfall is 10,834. So I would assume, I mean, I know it's that 100% damage increase when you're actually playing Drain Soul. It's execute range. It's the huge Malefic Wrath stacking with Drain Soul stacking, with Withering Bolt stacking, with whatever other effect I'm forgetting stacking. There's so many powerful effects that stack around your Drain Soul. You look at the damage breakdown here. I mean, I haven't even looked at it, but I'm sure it's pretty impressive. Let's see. Malefic Wrath. Where's we at here? Yeah, so at the end of the fight, when you typically pop Lust at the start in Sims and things here, you're actually peaking a bit higher here, about 27k versus, I mean, you know, roughly being 25k. You're peaking higher outside of Lust because of your execute. This is like big Dark Lair, big Drain Soul value. This is, you can see like the actual decimating bolt spikes here too, right? Like here, you're looking at one here, about here. This is like DSM Dark Lair again right here. Here, and big peak here in execute. It's pretty crazy. And for example, if you knew a fight was going to last long enough where you got full value here, you can hold this big CD window, which hits 27k, and maybe push it here, which is like 28k give or take. You're still getting that full window, right? But Sims don't really count for that. So Necrolord Malefic Wrath Affliction looks really good. I'm actually blown away by how strong these Sims actually are. Oh, by the way, Flask and things are working in these. It's just a little buggy over here, but I'm blown away. I said that Locke might have some pretty interesting synergies and combinations of legendaries. I still would like to see, you know, 2 of any legendary, not 1 covenant, 1 non-covenant. That would open the door to a lot more things. Regardless, this still looks really cool. So yeah, we gotta wait and see. We're in the very early stages of raid testing. Demonology looks very, very good. Destro looks not the best. AF looks okay. Sim-wise, it looks good. In actuality, things can be a little different. But at the same time, when we get the double legendaries for like raid testing, we might see some more AF-locks in there, because this damage output is pretty impressive. And honestly, there's a 60 DPS difference here between these two. Like there's not much. There's not much. There's a 60 DPS difference between these two. And this is like big dog Demonology. Not big dogs in like, you know, Dreadlash Carnivorous. This is like the top tier Demonology Sims that I've seen versus the top tier AF Sims. Could be gaining some value. We'll see. So, but yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video answers a lot of questions you have about double legendaries and Sims and things for Warlocks in the current stages of PTR. Like I said, it's pretty early on. Tomorrow there could be a PTR build that nerfs Warlocks or buffs Warlocks or does a million different things. I might be making this video again in a couple of days. We'll see. But I've gotten a lot of questions about it, so hopefully this has helped answer most of those questions. I'm going to be honest, Necrolord AF looks really good. Necrolord's just gained a lot of value in general, but beating out Soul Shape's going to be tough too, because life without Soul Shape is one that, I'll take Soul Shape any day of the week. It's saved me plenty of times, but we'll see where it goes, because in the end, damage is king, right? If you're not first in damage, you're last, and that's just, you know, the way it is. So thanks for watching, guys, though. Let me know what you guys think about this video down below in the comment description, like all the builds and Sims, and I guess legendary combinations, honestly, because I'm curious to get y'all's take on them. I think for the most part, it's been about what we thought it would be legendary combination wise, except for the AF ones. I had thought that AF might gain a lot of value having two with Shard and Malefic Wrath, and I'm impressed. It actually has gained a lot, but it gained more than I thought it would. It's a pretty substantial DPS upgrade. So if you guys like any weak auras, profiles, add-ons you saw here, once again, all indeed available to you guys for free on my Twitch. If you want to swing by, hang out, grab them, ask any questions anytime, feel free to do so. I also want to give one shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys a million times again for all support. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Heads up, the 9.2 Warlock spreadsheet should be going up, I would say, within a week or so, give or take, for the holidays. Probably after raid testing this week, as long as there is some. The tier 3 Felguard rank from a Patreon or higher does indeed get early access to that if you are interested. Once again, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. If you like the video, be sure to smash the like button below, hit the sub button right down there as well. And I will catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.